let's see if we can get a handle on Alexanderplatz. Thanks to the help of the construction worker, a bronze figure who stands 3.5 meters tall. And he stands in front of what was then the House of Civil Engineers. It's a monument to workers, to the proletariat. This is a GDR-era statue. He was cast for the 20th anniversary of the founding of the socialist state. The GDR is something of a theme on this tour. A lot of what you're going to see is related to this 20th anniversary. And he garnered the nickname Goldfinger, as his left index finger has bronze due to rubbing. Now, off we go to the square, which is just ahead of us. While Alexanderplatz refers specifically to a square, it's also commonly associated with the area around it. And, no matter what you've heard or read about, if you are visiting Berlin for the first time, you're going to come here. So you might as well get to know it. And this is a walking tour in and around Alexanderplatz. And not just visiting, you might even be considering staying here. Here is the H4 Hotel, a 4-star hotel and its budget-friendly counterpart H2. They are both German hotel brands, so you know that the bread at the breakfast buffet will be excellent. And they are located right next to the Bavarian brand, the Hofbräuhaus. Though a copy of the Munich original, its communal tables, live folk music, and festive spirit rate surprisingly well for a themed restaurant. So get your fix of a traditional Berlin beer hall here. You can also buy lederhosen in their gift shop, as well as cigarettes. And they are hiring. Okay, now moving on. Across the street is the Haus des Berliner Verlags, or the House of the Berlin Publisher, who are now once again tenants. This company publishes the Berliner Zeitung, still one of the city's most popular newspapers. It is part of an ensemble of buildings erected in and around Alexanderplatz starting in the late 1960s in the East German style of modernist architecture. Simple designs made of steel, concrete, and glass. We are about to see several buildings like this one on this walk. Notable features include an exterior glass-enclosed staircase, as well as this mural, which was intended to convey socialist ideals and the role of the press in East German society. The mural surrounds the second floor of the Press Cafe, which today houses a well-reviewed steakhouse called The Beast. Following the fall of the GDR, this building was slated to be replaced by a new building. However, it has in recent years been listed as a protected monument, which cannot be said of our next building. This 225-meter-long building today houses a variety of companies and organizations, including government offices. During the GDR times, it was referred to as the Haus der Elektroindustrie. It housed the Ministry of Electrical Engineering and Electronics. Ground floors were reserved as retail space, where lucky GDR residents could purchase televisions, radios, and other electronics of the day. If I had to bet, this building will disappear eventually, replaced by 2 or 3 multi-use towers. And if the current proposed redevelopment goes through, the Hofbräuhaus will also fall victim to this redevelopment. We now move on to a plot that was once occupied for centuries by the Georgenkirche, or St. George's Church. Following World War II, the congregation sought to rebuild the church here, but was denied by the GDR government. Instead, this 18-story building was built and called the Haus des Reisens, or the House of Travel. It housed the government agency responsible for air and rail traffic control, as well as the offices for Interflug, East Germany's state-owned airline. It was here that foreign visitors could book accommodations, arrange travel throughout the GDR and other socialist countries, extend visas, and exchange currency, albeit at a disadvantaged rate. On the eastern facade, at the level of the second floor, there is a copper relief entitled Man Overcoming Time and Space. And there is a rooftop garden club with scenic views of Alexanderplatz in Berlin. This building too was recently added to the protected list and will be spared from redevelopment. And there are several hotels in the vicinity that you might be considering on a visit to Berlin. Here is Greet and Premier Inn, both 3-star hotels, just a 1-minute walk from the square. And if you continue heading northeast along Otto Braunstrasse, just past the Premier Inn, you'll find the Generator Hostel and the 3-star Hampton Inn by Marriott. Not protected, but surviving nonetheless, is the House of Statistics, yet another building built in the socialist modernist style. It housed the State Central Administration for Statistics for the GDR. It was slated to be razed, but the Berlin Senate purchased it and is renovating it for mixed use in what it calls the common good. And that sounds like artists. Okay, let's head over to the opposite corner of this intersection. And as you probably guessed it, socialist modernism. And we have another mural. This is the Haus des Lehrers, or the Teacher's House, and it was a meeting place for a National Association of Educators. The standout feature is the frieze made of roughly 800,000 mosaic stones and measuring 7 meters high by 127 meters long. It's called Our Life and depicts merry scenes of social life in the GDR. Hard not to like the colors. And next door we have Congress Hall, which is home to Berlin's Congress Center. Like its next door neighbor, it's a protected landmark. For a brief time, this building served as the location of the East Berlin Parliament, but the original intention was for teacher training as well as hosting events, concerts, and cultural events, something that it still does to this day. And just across the street, we have Alexa. It's a shopping mall, like thousands around the world. Its pink, mostly windowless facade has been fodder for ridicule over the years. Move on and head into the square itself. Well, it's not quite a square, but it's certainly a Platz. For the first 500 years or so of Berlin history, the city was enclosed by a wall. First the medieval wall, and then by fortress walls. Today's Alexanderplatz sat just outside these walls, just outside one of the city's gates. It developed first as a market square, and then additionally as a military parade grounds. Eventually, it would be enclosed by the city's third wall, this time a customs wall. It received its current name in 1803, when Russian Tsar Alexander visited the city and was received here on the parade grounds. All but 2 buildings on the square survived the Second World War, the one on the left side of the frame and the building directly ahead of us, though both were built in the 20th century. And here we come to one of the city's most recognizable landmarks, the Weltuhr, or World Clock. It has 24 corners and sides, with each side corresponding to a time zone. There is a list of names of major cities for each zone. The clock's hour ring spins along its center once each day, something you really only notice in a time lapse. 4 analog clocks keep passerbys aware of the local time. Above the hours is an artistic representation of the solar system that rotates once every minute and looks insane in the time lapse. It all sits atop a compass rose. And with the TV tower as a backdrop, this ensemble has a Jetsons feel to it, which perhaps makes sense considering the Weltuhr was built in 1969. Okay, now on the other side we have one of the city's most famous hotels, the Park Inn. But first, we have a construction site where the first of several planned skyscrapers will be built, promising to transform both the square and the city's skyline. And by the time you're watching this, it may have already been finished. Okay, if you are planning to visit Berlin and you are considering a stay in or near Alexanderplatz, you will almost certainly be considering the Park Inn Hotel by Radisson. Formerly the Hotel Stadt Berlin, this 4-star hotel stands at 125 meters, or just over 410 feet, Berlin's tallest hotel. You can't get any more central in Alexanderplatz than this hotel. It's also known for its outdoor rooftop observation deck, which is a cheaper alternative than the TV tower, but certainly not climate controlled. The hotel is also known for its daredevil attractions from its rooftop, including at one time a bungee drop. Currently, its rooftop hosts the high swing, which is a swing that sways out over the ledge. It's not for the faint of heart. And here we have the Brunnen der Völkerfreundschaft, or the Fountain of Friendship. It consists of an upper and lower basin with 17 fountain bowls that look like flower petals or a lily pad set in a cascade. It was restored in 2022 and given historic landmark protection. Unfortunately, the fountain doesn't operate during the winter. And here we have the Galeria Kaufhaus, Germany's version of Macy's or John Lewis & Company. This location has long been the grounds for a department store, starting with the Tietz department store, which was destroyed in the war. In GDR times, a new state-run department store called Centrum was built here. The facade back then looked differently than it does today, sporting a metal and concrete facade that was so typical in this era. It was renovated in 2006 and is currently getting a tower attached to it as I film. so it too may look different when you are here. And it's right in front of the Galeria Kaufhaus, where tents and stands for both Oktoberfest and a Christmas market are located. And now let's cut right through Bahnhof Alexanderplatz. This is one of the city's most important stations, sitting on the Stadtline, which crosses east and west through the heart of the city. In addition to servicing several S-Bahn and regional train lines, it's also a stop on 3 U-Bahn lines as well as several tram lines. Even if you want to avoid Alexanderplatz, you will likely find yourself passing through it at the very least. And I mentioned earlier that Alexanderplatz developed as a market outside the city walls. Well, there was also a moat and ditch system along the walls. The tracks for the S-Bahn and regional trains were built over the route of the moat and ditch system. It's a fascinating historical change. And as we walk out the other side, we see the famous TV tower, the Fernsehturm. I won't mention much here. I do have a video that covers the Fernsehturm, including the pros and cons of visiting it, and I will leave a link to it in the description below. Technically speaking, the tower sits on land called the Park am Fernsehturm, or the TV Tower Park, but most simply accept that it's part of Alexanderplatz. The rest of our walk, by the way, is in this area. Now, we are just down the tracks from where we were panning up at the tower. I wanted to take you off to a side alley, just past the cinema, to show you something hidden out of the way. But first, here is the new location for the Hotel Motel 1, the company's Alexanderplatz location. This one is quite popular with the members of my Experience Berlin Travel Tips Facebook group. And located just next door is this interesting little monument. It's called the Bauarbeiterdenkmal, or the Workers' Memorial. It honors the contribution of construction workers to the post-war reconstruction of East Berlin, something that the GDR strove to emphasize. The bronze sculpture represents both physical effort and planning and urban expansion. It was dedicated in 1986 and was originally located in front of the House of Statistics, which we walked past earlier. Here on Rathausstraße is the Rathaus Passagen, a shopping center with housing that was part of the original socialist redesign of the Alexanderplatz area. It's more of a practical and historical curiosity than a highlight of Berlin. It does have a food court and bathrooms. And here in the distance is Berlin City Hall, known as the Rotes Rathaus, or the Red City Hall. This is the seat of both the city's mayor as well as the Berlin Senate. Opened in 1869, this Romanesque revival building stands as a refreshing change to the socialist modernism that dominates the area today. You can visit the building, and there are tours in English. And here is the southwest corner of the TV Tower complex, with its water fountain features, which are turned off in the winter. The pavilions at the base of the tower were designed to hold exhibitions. Currently, the featured tenant is Körperwelt, known in English as the Bodies Exhibit. And here we have the magnificent Marienkirche, or St. Mary's Church. It's one of Berlin's original 6 medieval churches and is the oldest active congregation in the city. The area around the church was once known as Marienviertel, or St. Mary's District. And in this model depicting the year 1880, you can see Marienkirche and the Rotes Rathaus and the surrounding buildings leading up to the city palace. Sadly, almost all of the surrounding area was leveled during the war. And in the pavement surrounding much of the church, you will find stone outlines of some of those adjacent buildings. It's a Gothic church with a splendid interior space, with a spacious central nave and a very large, gold-decorated organ just above the entrance. And if you're looking for an Anglican service in English, then stop by at 6 o'clock in the evenings on Sundays. However, the main draw of the church is its 22-meter-long fresco, which is located at the base of the church's tower. It's titled The Dance of Death, and it depicts the dead of all walks of life dancing about, and it is dated to a 15th century plague that struck Berlin. The church is free to enter and is very much worth a stop, when you're in the area. Just outside the front of the church, you'll find this statue of Martin Luther, the great Reformationist. Okay, let's make our way back into the park. I filmed this just after Christmas, and here are some workers taking down the last vestiges of the Christmas market on Rotes Rathaus, one of the city's more popular Christmas markets. Now just ahead is the Neptune fountain, featuring the god of the sea holding court with his trident laying over his left shoulder. The 4 female allegorical figures on the edge of this basin represent the 4 great rivers of Prussia, and in between are sea and river creatures offering fealty to their god. As is the case with the previous water features we've seen, this one is also turned off for the winter. The fountain originally sat just outside of the Berlin Palace, but was moved here when the palace was destroyed. Some preparations have been made to return the fountain to its original location in the future, so it's possible it may not be here if and when you visit. Now let's speed ahead to this intersection. On the opposite corner is the start of my next video, a walking tour of Nikolaiviertel. Or check out my walk of Museum Island or any of my other video walks in this playlist here. Links to my live guided walking tours can be found in the description below. Thanks for taking the time for this walk. See you in the next video. Tschüss!